Kind of an unusual structure. Not all of it's vines. That's why I said this is the Bigfoot hut. Got 3 up here looking for this buck. Get another shot of it. To the backside of it. Now, who knows what the hell? It may be circumstances, but there's broken limbs that make up part of this. So anybody that's a Bigfooter probably would say, this was definitely a Bigfoot hut. You can see right here in front. Gives you a good open spot to crawl in. Thick back here. Yeah, that's the end of the Bigfoot. Like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away. Well, that kind of sucks. Kind of sucks bad. Considering I threw my spare out at home yesterday, and the last minute decided I was gonna go steelhead fishing and didn't even think to throw it in the truck. That sucks.
Not even a good view spot. Anyway, I started hitchhiking. Grabbed my fishing rod, started hitchhiking. Some loggers picked me up. Then took me another 20 kilometers. I met up with a buddy of mine who's coming from the opposite direction. Found him in the woods in the river. Ended up having a wicked day steelhead fishing. And then we drove a little farther until I got some service, and I managed to get a text through to Sarah, and now I'm sitting here waiting for her to come and save me. Damn it. Now maybe I'll go in the truck and I got my phone, so I'll go in the truck and not waste any time, and I'll get some emails shared. I can do that easy, right? Man, that tire didn't even give me a frickin' warning. It blew up. I got a patch kit in the truck. Always have one of those, but that sidewall blew right out of the tire. Bam! And it is completely annihilated, but shit happens. Anyway. Raven's keeping an eye on me. I'm gonna get some voices heard while I'm sitting in the truck doing nothing. Alright, who do we got? Right off the bat, first one in line is titled, Why Me? And it's from the Owlman. Hope the audio's alright inside here. No shortage of logging trucks going by, so we're going to hear the odd vehicle going by, but that's about it. It's pretty quiet around here. Steve, I thought I would reiterate some helpful information that I sent you in my first or second email well over a year ago. I just didn't go into greater detail, as I'm now doing. I think by now it's fairly apparent that there are many people out there dealing with Sabes in their personal spaces. Instead of going over how to deal with that, I thought maybe it's best to give the reason why. The whole question of why me has probably left so many feeling lost and nowhere to turn to. Maybe this will help those people. That is a frickin' great move. Great idea. Over the years, I have been in contact with a multitude of people. Logging truck. Over the years, I've been in contact with a multitude of people who have been interacting with the Sabe on a level that's greater than the chance encounter. After talking with them, I began to notice a pattern. I eventually came up with a profile of people who, for the lack of a better term, can easily be called Sabe contactees. I'll try to explain this as I go along. Keep in mind, these are my observations based on personal interviews with multiple people. The best part of this is I have taken individuals out into the field to test if they have the ability to mind speak. As I've stated before, not everyone is able to communicate like this. People who fit this profile do, even if they never heard a Sabe or they attracted their attention. The Sabe once told me they seek those among us who have the ability to see and hear. In my opinion, the Sabe pick up on individuals who resonate with a quantum signature that is similar to their own. And this is why they seek out those who can see and hear. You can force yourself into their lives if you follow a specific protocol where they decide if they can trust and respect you, but this has nothing to do with that. These profile points are simply commonalities of individuals who the Sabe show great interest in. It's nothing bad, it's just normal, at least in the sense that it is something that has always existed and we really knew nothing about. I'm fairly sure that urbanization dumbed down humanity, and as the centuries passed and technology increased, we lost these sixth sense capabilities. Profile points of those who the Sabe want to connect with. Number 1, females. Most contactees are female. Of course, there are some males, but the vast majority are female in gender. Age does not seem to be a factor. 2, grew up in rural or semi-rural environments. I never met anyone who did not grow up this way. I suspect these people as children catch the attention of the Sabe when they are young, and even if they mature and move away to more urban environments, the Sabes still find them. 3, Played outside in rural and semi-rural environments as a child, often alone and also at night. Children going fishing, hunting, playing in creeks, rivers, and bodies of water attract attention. Children running around in the dark playing hide and seek or flashlight tag does as well. Number 4, love of animals. People who seem to prefer the company of animals over people, especially horses and dogs. Once again, this is a trait often found in children, and these children grow up and keep this trait. Number 5, indigenous heritage. Contactees tend to have some sort of indigenous bloodline from 1 to 3 generations in the past. When I say indigenous, it tends to be people with tribal roots in some fashion. This can be First Nations of the Americans, Indo-Pacific, Pacific Islanders. It doesn't seem to matter. Something about people with these genetic roots that have not been totally domesticated by modern civilization out of Western and Eastern Europe. Number 6, gifted. Gifted people are people who have some type of supernatural gifts. As I've stated, there are different terms for this, but the world would call it psychic phenomena. In some Christian circles, the terms would be seer or prophetic. Most denominational Christians will reject such giftings. Nonetheless, there are people born who are sensitive to the unseen world. There are so many variations of this, it's difficult to get into. Try to look at it like this. People that the church would burn at the stake or consider connected to the devil. Historically, Christians wiped out the people who were sensitive to things close to the veil. Jesus himself was accused of this by religious leaders. In my opinion, this profile point is really the most important and pivotal factor in who the Sabe are drawn to. Nothing else is as strong of a determining factor as this. 7. Gifted people in the family bloodline, especially the maternal side. In all my interviews, there seems to be a genetic trait of giftedness being passed down on the mother's side. I really have not found many who say their father had these traits, but there is a small minority who have both father and mother who are gifted. My 4 nieces have this situation. Wow. Number 8, chronic illness or disability. There seems to be a lot of chronic illness or some sort of disability associated with contactees. Why this is, I have no idea. It doesn't have to be anything serious. It could be something as simple as asthma or as serious as lupus. They can also be autistic in some fashion or have some type of genetic disorder. Either way, these all seem to gain attention for some reason. Maybe the Sabe can see or sense these issues with a person's aura or spirit, and it garners sympathy. The Sabe are empathetic, meaning they can feel people's emotions, and chronic pain affects people's emotional state. These 8 profile points seem to all be things fairly common in people who the Sabe show considerable interest in. The more profile points, the greater the chance they will seek you out. One does not need to possess all 8 to have the Sabe show interest. As I mentioned, profile point 6 of being gifted seems to be the biggest single factor. The single thing is what will put you on the radar for sure. Now, if one lives in a penthouse in the Empire State Building, I highly doubt they will get any attention. Proximity to where the Sabe live will have a big part to play in this. If you read through these profile points, it's easy to see how an individual will unknowingly attract attention from the Sabe. This past Sunday, I sat down with a 14-year-old Korean girl from my church who seems to have attracted a juvenile Sabe who has visited her home twice. The girl's mother had informed me her daughter has been able to hear and see things others can't since she was very young. And very recently, something that resembles a juvenile Sabe has been caught peeking around a corner inside their home looking at her. We got that email. Despite living in a heavily populated area, there is a river a few blocks away that winds through the scattered woodlands. They assumed it was something demonic and couldn't understand why rebuking in Jesus' name was not working. It always worked with other things this young girl saw, but not this. My advice was simple. Just ignore him. He's a young Sabe who picked up on this girl's quantum signature because it resonates similar to the Sabe. He probably never encountered another human with that and is trying to figure it out. I told her to expect to experience this attention on and off throughout her life and not to be scared of it. If she decides to engage them in conversation, she will get more unwanted attention, so just ignore them, especially if they are young. This information is important to those who keep asking, why me? It's my hope everyone who asks this to save and listen to this as much as they can. Only these people and these people alone can attest to the validity of what I am sharing here. Now please remember this information is from my own personal research in personally speaking to individuals who seem to attract prolonged attention from the Sabe. It is possible I am missing a factor that I never asked or noticed. Steve, I suspect you're going to get bombarded with new emails because of this. So many people have been in the dark for years asking questions of why me and never got an answer. Steve, I suspect you're going to get bombarded with new emails because of this. So many people who have been in the dark for years asking questions of why me and never got an answer. I could be wrong about all this, but your listeners are going to confirm or not. This will be validation or confirmation of this phenomena. Plenty of listeners will think this is just the ramblings of a demented mind, but if I'm correct, you're going to find out about it quickly. Once again, thank you for being so gracious. Blessings to those who have ears to hear the Owl Man. Okay, man, appreciate it, man. It's a great, helpful email for many, without a doubt. And I'm curious, you said that people that you interviewed, like I don't know if you have an online presence or not, or did previously or what, but how did you come in contact with those people that you interviewed? Was it people you found on your own before this channel, or was it people you found in the comments section here, maybe, possibly? I don't know. I'd be interested to know, how did you find people who were having interactions with these beings or even seeing them? You know what I mean? Another logging truck coming. There's no shortage of frickin' logging trucks on this road. Man, that sucks. It sucks getting broken down in the middle of nowhere and you're not fully prepared, which is very rare. Just a fluke. By chance. We were gone yesterday, needed the truck to load some stuff into it. And then random late evening choice to go steelhead fishing today, because it would have been my only day for a week. And right now's the time to go. But anyway, I put a GoPro underneath my knee, strapped around my leg. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but check this out. Maybe I'll put the clips in the... I'm going to make a video eventually that I'll share with you guys. Come on, where's that fish? Should be on there. I'm trying to watch the screen too. There he is. See that? That's my buddy fighting a wild steelhead. Look at how clear that water is. Isn't that great? So frickin' cool. Watch that. I can watch that all day. And I know there's a bunch of you out there who can watch it all day too. I got a whole pile of content today. But anyway, save that for later. See who else wants to be heard or needs to be heard or has something that we may benefit from. Listen to this. Want to learn about Sasquatch? Sure. Question asked of me. You can read or watch his testimony online. The Phil Schneider story did happen, but not as he described it. He was connected to by a Zeta. What he describes was part of a Zeta agenda. People died, but no Zetas. Zetas implanted the story he would tell as a warning to others. They allowed him to live by intention and tell their story. There was no exotic weapon. They just cut him. The primary weapons Zetas employ are themselves. There's absolutely no defense against them. Nothing. Realize that his story was a Zeta agenda, and you're on the right path. The agenda was a small part of a future fake alien invasion. I keep telling you that all your research will never give you anything that is absolutely true. Zetas later killed Phil Schneider, both physically and spiritually, after he served his purpose. The only thing Zetas didn't have absolute control over was human population growth. Throughout history, they tried with wars, along with nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. Nuclear weapons were used in the distant past, upon their arrival and after. For instance, the Middle East and North Africa. Use of them is responsible for the last ice age, which ended 12,000 years ago. Why do you think humans have so many diseases and health issues that plague the population? What do you think this LGBTQ movement is truly about? What is the purpose of abortion rights, vaccines, not just COVID, throughout history? Big pharma, processed foods, fluoride, chlorine, all viruses are Zeta bioweapons. Humans can only test for gain of function. Cancer is a type of virus. People don't get it from chemicals. Chemicals just weaken the immune system. There have always been cures for every virus. Zetas have released viruses throughout history. The threat of nuclear weapons has been dealt with as well. The list goes on and on. The primary reason has always been for population control. The number of Zetas was about 2.6 million and hasn't really changed in 13,000 years. They can't reproduce, but they have eternal lifespans. Satan, bracket God, bracket, calculated in Earth years was 41,252 years old when I spiritually killed him. They didn't have the numbers to carry out their population control agenda, so throughout history they used people they directly controlled to carry it out for them. Earth is their ninth world in their path of destruction. What makes this time so special? It ended here. Over the last 6.5 years, every one of these people have been dealt with globally. All those humans who were directly enslaved from underground bases and tunnel systems were freed in 2016. About 14.4 million. Everyone knows them as Sasquatch, true name, Almas, and small greys. They are being cared for in remote area locations around the world. We have 254,000 under our care. Their enslavement conditions were not much different than Jewish ghettos of Nazi Germany. This Great Awakening is so much bigger than humanity can imagine. Everything will be revealed. The hidden war against the invisible enemy continues, but all Zetas are gone. All those cryptids people report seeing were very real. They hid by using an overlapping frequency to human senses, Zeta genetics. We are still working on their removal. We're almost done. Everything that remains is no longer a threat. People don't think much is happening. This is because most of it is happening behind the scenes, simply put, art of war. This war began on April 14th of 2016. The world is being cleansed. You might want to note how many religious institutions are involved. Nothing's new. 12,971 years of human history. How many of you believe in the legitimacy of those idiotic Bible stories? History has always been rewritten to keep the Zeta presence and agenda with humanity secret. The Zeta language is called Sumerian. I'll read the rest of this later. Sarah's here! Yay! I'll be back shortly. Whew. That was a long one. That was a long one yesterday. Not much sleep again. Now it's Sarah's birthday today. So, where did I leave off? I left off with an email that later on as I was driving home. So I kind of contemplating about what I was reading, whether or not I should actually share it. But I got that far through it, so I'll read the rest of it, and then maybe we'll have a little chit chat after I read this one, alright? And then we're going to get some more voices to be heard right away. That was a great day fishing yesterday, although it was a complete cluster. So, let me find where I was. 1 second. Where I left off. You left a link, a YouTube video, the world around you that you cannot see. Hold on a minute. Alright, let's get back to that word idiotic. How many of you believe in the legitimacy of those idiotic Bible stories? History's always been rewritten to keep the Zeta presence and agenda with humanity's secret. The Zeta language is called Sumerian. The world around you that you cannot see with a YouTube link, I'm guessing that's a video, based on truth, but you need to think of what he is saying from a Zeta point of view. The tunnel system he describes does exist and extends from Panama to northern Alaska. With extensive branches. The borders of the Alaska Triangle are BS. It's the entire state. Western Yukon Territory and British Columbia. Mount Hayes, Alaska was the Zeta's primary base for this world. The region has had the lowest density of human population. This region has had the lowest density of human population. The western half of the United States also had many bases. Mountainous regions are the primary reason. The bases were situated globally, of course. I am situated in the best location, kind of like the center of the most densely Zeta populated area. The intelligent reptilians are gone, as you now know. All Zeta bases have been destroyed in one fashion or another globally. The Kushtaka, as described by the Tlingit and Haida people of southeast Alaska, is Sasquatch. The southeast Alaska being a temperate rainforest and being an extensive island archipelago, rain, rivers, lakes, and ocean channels, the Almas are usually seen wet. You shouldn't even give credence to First Nation people. Their accounts are always based on tribal folklore passed on to generations through the spoken word, not through writing. Because of this embezzlement is truth destructive. Vortexes are BS, but random Zeta connections are common. Children and women are commonly abducted and returned or never returned by Zetas. That's another YouTube link. Follow the X22 report on Rumble. How do you wake the people up? You can't tell them, you must show them who these evil people are. World War II never ended. Infiltration. What is the CIA, FBI, and many other organizations and agencies? Every major war going back to 13,000 years is connected. The last war to be fought began in 2016. This time it was against the Zetas. Humanity will be introduced to them in the not-too-distant future. Why do you think Sasquatch never harm people? When Sasquatch do harass people, it's primarily to scare them out of an area. Zetas and other threats are around. Sasquatch collaborators were used by Zetas to control the others and at times attacked people. They have long since been removed. The amount of information is far too extensive than what I can share in an email. As long as I am here, I will answer questions if you have any. Alright, well, I'm not going to go picking the entire email apart, but what the hell. A couple red flags for me was you said, quote, there's nothing you can do to defend yourselves against the Zetas. Absolutely nothing, right? Later on, you say, we are still working on their removal. We're almost done. Everything remains no longer a threat. Okay, so which one is it? You can't defend yourself against them, but you can make them go away. Alright, now listen. This is just me and my attitude speaking, alright? This is what I feel about reading this email. I wonder if I should share it with you guys, but what the hell? Everybody gets to be heard, right? But the thing is, let's just say this was true. Let's just say that there was an individual or individuals who knew all these as fact. That would mean you were quite the knowledge-filled, very special individuals. Now, picturing that class of individual in the human population that's doing these things and witnessing these things, I'm about 110% confident that any person qualifying to know and do all of these things would definitely not be seeking some dirtbag like me out on a YouTube channel and trying to sling their dick in circles in front of them with all these blatant dictations to me, right? These strong, blurted out, in a way, facts, I guess. I don't believe anybody would be doing that myself. So, in the end, am I being insulting? No, I'm saying exactly what I would say to anybody if we were in private sitting right here and they just came into my face and blurted the shit out. I would say, really? So, first you said these things you can't defend yourself against these Zetas at all. There's nothing you can do. And then a couple of sentences later you say, we're getting rid of them. We are almost done. Let's stress on that we part. That means you included. Right? So, then in the end, the last sentence, as long as I am here, I will answer questions if you have any. Well, okay, I got a question. Who are you? How did you come across this knowledge? How do you kill a Zeta? And can you prove all of this? Do you have anything to back any of this up? Anything at all? I've heard the Zeta thing, the Sumerian thing, numerous times. I've heard the story numerous times. Like I said before, the only pattern I see is the similar one story. Anyway, I don't know, you guys. You know what? I debate whether or not I should just go back and delete this email or not. But what the hell? I shared it, so... And I don't want anybody to start slinging insults or lashing out. Alright, you guys? Well, let's just take it as common sense. Okay, we got a person here who claims, makes some pretty strong, bold statements, and then claims that these beings we can't do anything at all to them, period. And then later on says, oh, we're almost done wiping them out. Sorry, if that makes me laugh, it just does. Anyway, and hopefully you can see why. Yeah, my questions? Prove it, man. Back it up. That's all I'm saying. Who are you? And if you are one of these special, absolutely skilled, secretive people in whatever organization you would claim this to be, do I believe that if there was a person such as this caliber, this status, would they be seeking out a YouTube channel and sending in an email to a YouTube channel audience? No, I don't think so. I think that if any of this was true and the truth was to come forward by any of the so-called individuals included, obviously it would be on a wider audience, maybe on a major news network with cameras and a serious conference, and then blurting it out to the public. It would be like, okay, there's 550 of us in this organization attacking and killing the Zetas. Let's single out John Smith over there, and you go choose a YouTube channel that you think could be worthy of sharing all of our info to. Okay? Give her. Alright. Let's move on. Moving along. Somebody comes up with some story like this again and makes these bold statements. You're going to have something, you're going to need something substantial to back it up. Alright? Now, moving along. Alright, who do we got? This is titled, Three Brothers Accounts in West Virginia and the Club of No Return. Steve, I hope this email finds you well. I've watched your programs for hunting and fishing content. My wife and I love your channels and enjoy your commentary on Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the Sabe videos. I'll start by saying I was a skeptic of Sasquatch and the accounts of sightings when I was in my mid-30s. My family and I have been avid hunters and sportsmen for decades and have covered many a mile and hours outdoors enjoying God's bounty. When I was young, clear up to my mid-20s, I participated in group hunts in the West Virginia Panhandle where we would drive the mountains for deer. For those not familiar with this type of hunting, it consisted of approximately a dozen watcher/hunters spaced from the top of the mountain to the bottom at one end of the mountain, while approximately 8 of us would space out and walk toward the watchers. We were the dogs moving the deer. What is funny is our method for doing this deer driving consisted of us knocking on trees with sticks and whooping as we moved through the woods, much like you see today on these goofy Bigfoot shows. We would do this for 6 days during the deer season in different plots of land 2 to 3 times a day. With all the commotion we made during that week, it makes me wonder if the Sasquatch in the area were thinking a Sabe rendezvous was taking place. Just kidding. Being young made me a primary dog driver, and like my brothers, meant very little watcher time. Wow, I wish I was in that kind of shape now, as I am now in my early 60s. Now to the encounter, though it did not happen to me. In the mid-80s, a local newspaper had an article of 2 Bigfoot accounts that took place in the area where we hunt. The main story was of a father and son that were turkey hunting and had a frightening standoff with a male and female Bigfoot. Being that it was published shortly before deer season, It was the topic of conversation at the landowner's kitchen table just prior to the season opener, since the occurrences took place near the landowner's property. He and his dear wife, friends for many years, chuckled when it was brought up, with his wife saying that it was just her and her husband frolicking nude in the woods. A case of mistaken identity. To this I joked that it could not have been her, since the female Bigfoot described in the article had 2 large breasts that hung down like hound dog ears. We laughed for a bit over that, then off to other topics. That season passed without any Sasquatch reports, and all was forgotten, chalking it up to a made-up story. The following season went pretty much on schedule, with the exception that there would be any deer driving, since the number of hunters had declined. To be honest, I was glad those days were over. This season, 8 of us would hunt from ground blinds made from deadfalls and branches and tree stands. My brother, who is a year older than me, has always been competitive, and when it comes to hunting, he's very successful, more so than me. He is also very honest and keeps secrets better than anyone I know. Early in this particular season, it was customary to be set in your stand at approximately 5 a.m. before sunup, so as to not move the deer while entering the woods. It was a competition to be in the stand first. Early, cold, miserable, as now I would describe these mornings. Sometimes snow or rain, but almost always cold was the norm. I loved those all-day sits and still do. It is the only real time that I can decompress without the worries and concerns of everyday life, and be with the Lord. On the second day of the season, I woke up late, sun shining. Crap, I missed the alarm. Speedily, I dressed and sped to the farm, knowing that my brother was already there and would tell me how I moved the deer and possibly ruined his day of hunting. To my surprise, when I arrived, he had just pulled in before me. He was late too. When I got out of my truck, I asked why he was running late. He gave me this odd blank look, grabbed his gun and loaded it, and was in a rush to head out to his blind, when I stopped him again and asked what made him late. He quickly said that on the way to the farm, he helped a farmer up the road round up some cattle that had gotten loose and get them back in the field. Though his words made for a good story, his eyes and hurried brush-off spoke volumes to me. Something was definitely wrong. You see, we're very close, being only 1 year apart and more like twins, and are able to tell if there's a problem with one another. I'm a very easy book to read, where he was a bit harder for anyone to read other than me. He was done explaining and wished me good luck, then off he went. I knew there was more to the story, but never brought it up again. Years later, around the time effing Bigfoot began airing, my brother, his teenage son, and his son's best friend and I stayed in an old log homestead / hunting cabin on the same property that we had been hunting on for decades. I was the designated chef for our small hunting party, as I had been every season. There was lots of fun during that week with the 4 of us, with me being the butt of some of the shenanigans that took place. While I was preparing dinner, I mentioned that I was watching effing Bigfoot. Excuse me. Boy, did I have it handed to me from those 2 teenagers. They howled and told me I was crazy if I watched or believed in that show or Bigfoot. The whole time I'm being prodded and laughed at, I noticed that my brother, sitting in the old recliner, stoically looking off distantly toward the wood stove. While they were giving it to me good, then he spoke up, matter-of-factly, without expression or emotion, and said, "Go ahead and laugh, but that son of a bitch is real." You would have thought he had discharged his Husqvarna 270 in the cabin. You could hear a pin drop, I kid you not. Then the memory came back. I remembered that morning years before when we arrived late to the farm. It made me grin, and then I glibly said, "Do you want to elaborate?" The boy's eyes were wide and all was quiet in the cabin. Then he said, we had to promise not to tell anybody what he was about to say, to which we all promised. Oops. I did pretty good for a while, but he's the good one to keep a secret. Me, not so much. He started by asking me if I remembered that morning we arrived late years before, to which I said yes, as I chuckled, letting him know that I knew there was more to his story that day. He said that morning he had indeed gotten a late start and was hurriedly making time to the farm since the sun was up and he didn't want to ruin my hunting by coming in too late. He said that when he was within 3 miles from the farm where a small housing development sits nestled in the woods, when he saw movement in the woods ahead on the left side of the road, he slowed down thinking it might be a deer getting ready to cross, which is a common occurrence when navigating this stretch of road. As he slowed, he saw a number of crows swooping at whatever was moving in the woods as the being turned right onto the road and into the oncoming path of my brother's pickup. He said that it was 20 to 30 feet in front of his now stopped truck and continued to cross the road into the woods toward the mountain. He said that it never broke stride and only glanced as it passed in front of his truck while the crows continued their dive bombing as he walked between the two homes' properties. He said that it stood at around 8 feet tall, but was somewhat lanky. 1 second. While the crows continued their dive bombing as he walked between the two homes' properties. He said that it stood around 8 feet tall, but was somewhat lanky and covered with brownish hair. I asked him what he did then, and he said the thought of proving Bigfoot's existence once and for all was his intent when he unzipped his gun case. Then he went silent for a moment, and I asked why didn't he shoot it. After a short pause, he said the Bigfoot was about 20 yards into the woods and stopped and turned toward my brother, making eye contact. I asked again, why didn't you shoot it? He answered what seems to be the most common answer from nowheres. He said, it looked too human. Go figure. Oh, this light's a little off. Years since, I've had signs of Bigfoot in the same land that I hunt, once tracking a buck I had shot, I came across an igloo-shaped structure made from saplings and branches. It was at least 10 feet in diameter, and I've included the video with this email. Also, I have heard conspicuous super loud owl hoots in the same area that sound very strange on several occasions in the same area. Once while deer hunting, at lunchtime, my wife called while I was in my ground blind to see how it was going. I whispered to her that it was slow and that I had a strange, loud owl hoot early in the morning about 100 yards away. Then I whispered to her, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? Owl hoot, cadence. I taught her while we turkey. Sorry, you guys. Owl hoot cadence I taught her while we turkey hunting just before sunup earlier that year. I read it as it's written. I no more finished whispering, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? Then a loud, strange owl hoot rang out from the same area that she could hear on my cell phone loud and clear. We chuckled, and again it repeated the hoot again. A year later, during the season, in a different location about 200 yards away from that spot, the same thing happened again. The only negative aspect of this activity that I've noticed in this area is that this once gold mine hunting spot is now a dead zone to deer traffic. Several seasons ago, my brother, on the season opener along with his son-in-law, said that the putrid odor of raw sewage combined with death wafted in the air after over a remote several-acre square forest plot at the top of the mountain in the morning and then dissipated shortly afterwards. There are no residences within several miles from where this took place. The following year, while spring turkey hunting in that same area, I heard a loud, deep thud, as if someone had launched a 60-pound rock from the ridge to bench slash flat near to where I had taken a lunch break. On finishing my lunch, I noticed a fox attempting to catch a mouse under a fallen tree some 70 yards below me. I was told by the landowner to kill all foxes and coyotes I saw, since his granddaughter was losing valuable chickens and ducks due to predation. I squeak-called the fox in and dusted him at 5 yards. 10 minutes after killing the fox, I noticed how everything had gotten eerily quiet, and then I smelled an awful stench wafting down from the ridgetop. The same ridgetop where my brother and his son-in-law reported smelling the stench during deer season. With my hackles up, I knew it was time to go. It was at this time that in a loud voice I called out and said, I've left lunch for you. I'm heading out. And then took the dead fox and curled it up on a sawed-off tree stump so that the Bigfoot would easily find it, and left. I hope he got it. Just this January 23, I was nursing my 88-year-old mom back to health after she contacted the China virus. Happy to say she is back in the pink and still vaxless. While I was there, my oldest brother came for a visit, and I asked him if he was aware of our brother's encounter. He said that he was, and that his best friend, who has since recently passed, were bow hunting when they had an encounter of their own at the crack of dawn on the same property while heading to their tree stands. They watched it as the being crossed a power line within 100 yards. After it entered the woods on the opposite side of the cut, my brother said that he and his buddy just stared at each other, and his buddy said, "What do you think?" My brother said, "Bigfoot without a doubt." Both were in agreement without any doubt. This incident happened prior to the road encounter our brother had, and the first I'd ever heard about it. In conclusion, I believe that the landowners where I hunt are aware of their resident cryptids and keep it to themselves so that people do not ridicule them. Excuse me. The reason I believe this is that my wife and I were hunting for turkey about 10 years ago in this area when I clearly spotted a mountain lion at 30 yards scale a large oak tree. It was spring, and we ran to the base of the tree and looked up, but could not find it due to the heavy foliage. It is reported by the DNR that mountain lions do not inhabit this part of West Virginia. Yeah, we need to listen to those guys, right? On returning to the landowner's home, I told them what we had seen, and without missing a beat, the wife casually replied, "So you've seen our cat?" with a grin. To say that I was amazed is an understatement. Also, my wife and I were at a family function a couple of weeks ago, and my wife's brother brought up that since being retired, he has been watching programs about Sasquatch, and that he believed in them. My wife then told him about the encounter my brother had, as noted earlier. That's when his wife and stepdaughter joined in on laughing and calling us crazy. They said that people that believe in Bigfoot probably believe in UFOs, to which I answered that I had witnessed and confirmed UFO sightings. Confirmations by the Air National Guard and the local newspaper. They just kept on goofing on us until we moved on to other topics. Steve, here's what I find funny regarding these Christ-believing in-laws. Being a Christian myself, I can honestly say that I've never seen Jesus Christ. I've never witnessed the miracles that he performed while on earth. Yet I believe in him and his glories with all my heart. Thank God for the witnesses in the Bible. All but one of Christ's disciples suffered excruciating execution and could have lived if only they would confess that the whole story is a lie. Would you die for a lie or save your skin? I wonder if when we stand before Jesus, people like my brother-in-law's wife and stepdaughter will need to touch the nail-pierced hands and place their hands on Christ's side before they believe it's really him. Truth and faith are backed up by witness accounts. Thank God that there are those that aren't afraid to tell their stories and tell the truth. Everything I've written is true, and I personally have never seen a Bigfoot. I've asked my brother if he would want to see another one. His answer, oh hell no. Brothers of the Club of No Return. It's a big club. It's a big club. That's funny. One time in hunting camp, I'll never forget that one too. It's my partners in camp would always, each set of new hunters we get, which have them for like 10 to 14 days, they always get me to have Sasquatch night, story night for Sasquatch night. And I start asking questions, telling stories. Sometimes you receive some stories, and most of the times a lot of people laugh. And I'll never forget this one guy. The second it came up, he looks at me, he goes, "Man, you probably believe in UFOs too, don't y'all?" What do you even say to those people, right? What do you even say? You just grin, shrug, whatever. Maybe talk about fishing or something. It doesn't bother me the slightest. Okay? It just doesn't bother me the slightest. Here's what it is. That's why I don't promote this channel. I don't tell people to like, subscribe, and share. I do tell people to share this particular video with the people that have shared being troubled in confidence with the person who's emailed in. But other than that, I mean, I don't even post these videos on my social media. I never have. I've never posted a link to any of these videos anywhere. I've never tried to promote it at all. Reason being because the people who thankfully can think for themselves are loaded with common sense and think rationally, and hopefully are as well, at the same time, in tune with their intuition. They're finding this place on their own because they're searching for answers and true knowledge and no bullshit. That's how close to 300,000 plus people are here. Because they found it on their own. Their friend told them about it, but it hasn't been promoted. I'm babbling, aren't I? But anyways, that's what I'm getting at is you just have to accept the way the majority of society is right now and slowly drip feed people the truth or a different angle to look at something without ever dictating to them or belittling them or trying to humiliate them because they don't believe you. Whatever is what it is. You don't believe me? I don't give a shit. Onward. What do you want to talk about then? Want to talk about fishing or something? You know, and just carry on. It's a topic that can't be promoted. You can't. I don't think. You can't push this on people. You can't demand proof to throw at people. The proof's already there. If you are the type of mind that cannot accept all of the testimonies of all these good, honest people, nothing's ever going to change your mind. You've had DNA thrown in people's faces, fingerprints, footprints, dermal ridges, hundreds of photographs, dozens and dozens of DNA samples, a clear color video clip, right? What more do you want? You know? And now, especially with this channel, the amount of frickin' people that are finding this place right here and spilling because they're safe. It's incredible. You cannot make people email you. You cannot make or even suggest to somebody controlling their mind to make them make up a frickin' story of seeing some hair-covered 8, 10, 12 foot tall being in the woods. You can't do it. If you could make people do that, imagine the control you could have. That is creepier than shit, actually. It never happened. But anyway, babbling. I gotta get somebody else's voice heard besides mine. I can babble, I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for sending that in, man. I absolutely appreciate you. Big time. And maybe those kids that laughed need to hear this video. Maybe. Alright, what do we got? This is titled More Sabe. Hey Steve, this photo I took about a mile as a crow flies from my house. I was driving home and I noticed a huge X that was over 100 feet tall. I have a picture of the huge X also, but I went home, grabbed my 45-70, went back to this location, and found this triple X on the left of the two Sasquatch. They were kneeling down behind the cover of small trees and shrubs. I was not sure if they were part of the clan that has residence by my house was the reason I went and got my rifle, so I was just being sure if they were not friendly to have some firepower with me, because the ones I have living by my house give me no problems. But I was unsure about these guys. But yeah, there are more Sasquatch in this photo, but you have to zoom in on this photo to see them. But enjoy, and I will have more photos at a later video. Keep on keeping on in this crazy world where we live. I think that these guys are here, and it's possible a lot more things are out there also. From one nowhere to another, be safe. And I've found if you're going to feed these guys, give them bread. It's something they don't have growing or can kill to eat. But I would advise not too often because they will expect it, and you don't want to start that shit. Because you may not be here. You may not be there sometimes to give it, but yes, bread is the one thing they can't gather, and they are gatherers. Peace. JW. Okay, man. Right off the bat, I'm looking at that timber, and just by knowing my plants, if you aren't in Washington State or northwestern Oregon or British Columbia, I don't know where else that would be. But that sure looks like British Columbia to me. Coastal timber. Now, what do we got? So there's a couple Sasquatch in this photo kneeling down. Look kind of blurry, but it does look like something is there to me in the middle, because you can see, usually when there's a dark shadow like that, it's possibly a stump or whatever, but you got a piece of that dark shadow stump in the background with, it looks like a possible leg or a forearm or something sticking down in between the two alders, and still has the same shade of the dark background, so it's not a shadow making that dark color. It's a color. But anyway, there you go. There's another photo. I'll zoom it in and share it here. Now it kind of reminds me, I'm gonna discuss something here with you guys that I'm not really that big on discussing it, whatever, but I get hounded all the time. Hey man, what do you think of so-and-so? When they're asking me about other popular names when it comes to the topic of Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And I intentionally don't mention numerous names that you guys ask me about intentionally, because I know that they want to be promoted. I know they want you to come to their social media channels. They need you to be there for a number. That's it. And they just want attention, I think. But they are also passionate about this topic as well, I do believe. Anyways, there's one person out there a lot of people heard of. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not looking to promote him. But a lot of people say, hey man, what do you think about those photographs? Do you think they're legit? What do you think about so-and-so? Do you think he's legit? And one thing I do tell people when people ask somebody else about what they think of so-and-so, I'm not big on that, because I'm not big on people jumping on their own wagons, jumping on their wagons, you know what I mean? It's like, I want everybody to become more in tune with their instincts, their gut instincts. And that includes never having to ask people what they think about somebody. Let's get an example about a human being. Because you already know. You should know on your own. Don't jump on people's bandwagon. If you can't figure it out, then get more in tune with your intuition, your instincts, your common sense, and figure it out for yourself and come to your own conclusions. Don't base your conclusions on somebody else, right? Hope I'm making sense. Anyways, moving along with what I'm going to discuss. So, had these photographs. Somebody apparently in perfect broad daylight, perfect lighting, perfect focus, in the wilds, set up a tripod, put the camera on the tripod, maybe it was already attached, set it up perfectly, leveled it perfectly, focused it, and then hit record. Right on what is said to be a Sasquatch face, looking at the camera. Which looked to be, it could have been who knows what the lens was, but that photograph could have been anywhere from 10 feet away. Okay, it's thick timber, so I'd imagine it probably wasn't any more than 10 yards away, guessing from what timber usually is. And then not only did they do it once, they did it twice with a different individual. Okay? Now, I'm pretty sure you guys could probably agree that I do have a little bit of experience in filming wildlife in the middle of nowhere, right? And I have filmed some rare known wild specimens, including monstrous frickin' bucks that pretty well not too many people have ever seen before. And what I can share, there are grizzly bears, I filmed wolves, mountain sheep up in the mountains. I've filmed all sorts of wildlife. And I always have a video camera in my pocket, no matter where I go. I always have one or two in the truck, one in the seat. I always have them. And that's how I get all this cool shit shared with you guys. Now, hear me out. Being a very experienced wildlife photographer, or videographer, whatever you want to call me, when I get a video of something that is so frickin' rare, it's ridiculous, say when it comes to hunting or even fishing, underwater footage that I've been trying to master this past couple of years, I am going to milk every frame of what I recorded. Whether it be a little jittery, a little blurry, not quite out of focus, a little shaky, I'm going to milk every single frame of that video to share with my friends or whoever people here, because it's all I got. Right? Sometimes, I remember one time I was riding, as an example, I'm riding on my horse, Macaroni, with my friend. We are 2 days horseback travel over 3 or 4 different valleys in the middle of British Columbia, and we rode in off Alaska Highway, middle of frickin' nowhere. We're right along a game trail, right along a creek, a noisy creek. My partner turns around and looks at me over his saddle and goes like this. And I look, here's this monster, nearly black, dark chocolate, huge frickin' male grizzly bear. And he's right there in the creek bed. Just grazing, sniffing, grazing. She's walking along, doesn't know we're there yet. I'm like, oh shit. Like, he was probably 15 yards away, and then he finally looked at us, and you're like, we're looking at each other. He looks, hair puffs up, boom, bolts. He's ripping across the river. I jump off my horse, I get the video camera out, and I'm shakier than shit, and I'm videotaping. I just got enough of him side hilling through the brush behind a couple of spruce trees, and off he goes. Right? And I did share that video in telling a story online in somewhere. I shared that video, but I had to share every single frame that I managed to catch that frickin' monster grizzly bear, which is kind of shitty at first, but then I just got him in focus and real clear, and then he disappeared. So, yeah, I included every frame of that video to show that huge, dark, abnormally dark grizzly bear. Boom, showed it. Now, I'll guarantee you, I don't give a shit who you are. If you are going to see what is described by tens of thousands of you as 8 to 10 foot tall, 1,000-pound, human-looking being covered in black, brown, reddish brown, gray hair, I don't give a shit what color it is. First off, you're going to be panting like a dog from the adrenaline. Panting like a dog. Excited. You are going to be shaking. You're going to be hoping that you can possibly keep your shit together to maybe get that video camera out, hit record. It's recording, yes! Right? And then get that camera on that individual, and especially if you're already familiar with these beings and their reactions, you are going to know that you are probably not going to have time to put no camera on no tripod and set it up and put it at 90 degrees and bang on. Right? You're not going to, especially in thick brush, you can only see the face of this thing. You're not going to waste a second of valuable recording time. Now picture being somebody who's in the woods and they're seeing some kind of a being, and you're holding the camera. Think about it, you guys. Picture it. You're hiking. What are you doing? Whatever you're doing. And you know the habits and the reactions typically of these beings, and how rare it is to see one, especially in broad daylight, especially in thick timber, so you're real close. And then, oh wait, picture this. Okay, just hold on to 1 second there, Mr. Sasquatch. 1 second. Just got to get my tripod perfectly set and leveled. I'm not excited because I don't want to record my heavy breathing, so I'm going to keep my breathing under control perfectly. I'm nice and calm. Just let me get my camera on here. All right, wait, I'm not focused yet. Okay, don't move. You're going to focus your camera perfectly, and you're going to hit record. Okay, thank you. I'm recording right now. Bink, and then you're going to stop record. Right? Said and did no one ever. That's just my thoughts. So, no. Nobody. No legitimate character ever managed to get 2 of these beings who outclass the living shit out of us in every way to stand there, close proximity, thick timber, don't move, let me get my camera perfectly nuzzled on the tripod and hit record. And no, I'm not going to share if there was video leading up to hitting record, meaning getting my camera out. Oh my god, there's hit record, I got it, oh my god, I'm getting a video, it's only 20 feet from me. Right? That's what I'd be like. Right? There's nothing there that makes sense to me. Absolutely nothing. And if you were legitimate, you would show you would milk every single frame of that video as you got your camera out, hit record, got it set up, you're shitting yourself, the aftermath, you are going to videotape those individuals turning, looking away, and walking away, because you couldn't get better evidence than that, could you? Alright? So there you go. That's my thoughts. I've been hounded and hounded and hounded. Oh my God, I need to go there and give that any daylight like I need a hole in my head. But, I don't know, why not? I just did. That's my thoughts, so please don't ask me again. No, I'm not going to say any names because it's when people want to be promoted, when people want attention, it's very, very, very easy to see. Okay? And that's why 99% of the individuals a lot of you ask me about, I'm not saying their name for nothing. Ain't gonna happen. Ever. I got no time for bullshit. I got no time for attention seekers. Fraudster. I just don't have any time. I only have time for all of you. Right? I'm not I'm not into celebrity status. I'm not into attention seekers. I'm not into celebrity makes me want to puke. Okay? So there. I only care about what all of you have to say and what all of you have to share, and that is the number one priority for me in my existence, and that's where I get my knowledge from. That's where we're only going to get truth from. Attention seekers. There's no room here. There you go. It was a bit of a babble, wasn't it? But if you look at the Patterson film, that's a classic example of what's going to go down if you are possibly even if you aren't intentionally looking for one of these beings. That's how it's going to go down. Like, holy shit, you're going to be getting all over the frickin' place, getting the camera. Just exactly what went down in that video clip. Right? And they milked, apparently I have heard from trusted people to me that there's a lot more to that video that wasn't shown publicly, and they've seen it. It's another topic. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to milk every frickin' frame of that video you managed to capture. You're going to milk the shit out of it, and you're going to share every frame with the public or whoever it is when you decide to share it. That's what you're going to share. It's like, oh no, I don't want to show it turning its head and walking away. I'm going to cut that out. I don't want to show the part where it was moving along and moving along and moving along until it finally stopped and stood there and looked at me. I'm not going to show any of that video either. I just want that perfect 90-degree, absolutely steady without me breathing because I'm shitting my pants video clip, and I'm going to show one eye open. It's just, sorry you guys, I've wasted a lot of time on this topic. I'm stopping right now. I'm done. Got my point across. End o story. I'll never speak of this topic, this particular incident, ever again on this channel. End of story. Now, I'm going to finish not with that, but I'm going to finish with something more important, which is one of you needing to be heard, and that's how we're going to finish today's video, right? Joel in Alabama, your friend, is the title of this email. Hi Steve, my name is Butch Hughes. I started watching your hunting guide videos years ago. I remember one when you were with Joel Colgrove. Y'all saw those naked models skiing by y'all's remote camp. Very funny. That was something else, wasn't it? I think I got to redo that video because I think it got deleted because of the sounds in it or something. But yeah, that really happened. That was pretty funny. Joel's a good friend of mine. I'm 67 years old, been hunting fishing since I was 6 years old. Your stories brought back a memory from when I was about 15 years old. Back then, we dog hunted for deer. I had 2 blue-tick hounds. My brother-in-law Hubert had 2 treeing walker hounds. They averaged about 80 pounds each. When these dogs struck on a deer, they would cold trail, then it would get very loud and vocal when they struck. They would run that deer until one of our hunters killed it. One cold morning, we put all the hunters on the stands. My brother-in-law and me let the hounds loose. It wasn't about a few minutes. They struck a trail, barking like they were fixing to catch the deer. They would run, barking wide open for a minute or two, then dead quiet. Start again, same thing. This went on for about 10 minutes. Then we heard a loud scream and growl like I've never heard. All 20 hunters later said they heard it. A few minutes later, all 4 hounds came back to the truck, jumped into the dog box. Their noses were scratched and bleeding. Usually we had to take all day to gather these hounds up to leave. The area we hunted that morning was in Tuscaloosa County, north end at a place called Piney Woods. It was on a ridge above Dry Creek that fed into Lake Tuscaloosa. Everybody later counted the event up to a black panther because there had been stories about sightings for years. I don't think to this day a cat would have whopped those 4 hounds and sent them back scared to the truck. No, they wouldn't. You know they wouldn't. Steve, I like what you're doing with all these topics you cover. Take care. God bless. Butch. And you sent me a photo. Those are nice bucks, man. Those are real nice deer. Those are Alabama bucks. Those are beauties. Good for you. Tuscaloosa. Well, you know that I'm very familiar with Tuscaloosa. Yeah. One thing where we ran around in Greene County, some of the swamps, whew, tell you what, it's like, they can be pretty creepy, like to a simple Canadian like me. And you go down there and you see those big, are those cypress trees? What are those trees? You know where those big, hard knobs come up out of the swamp, and those big ass frickin' trees, and the noises down there, just the noises from the insects and everything at nighttime. It's just like, holy shit. Yeah, it's pretty creepy in a lot of places around the south in the timber, in the swamps. And I'll tell you, one time we were on my friend's property, new hunting property, him and his brother's property, and they hired a trapper to come down there and start cleaning out a lot of the beavers and raccoons and stuff that want to build up for better turkey and stuff. And that was when I was real heavy into sharing how to trap wolves videos online. A lot of trappers followed my stuff. And we come down to check on this guy, and he gets out of the truck and sees me, and he's like, "No way!" I couldn't believe it was me, because he followed all of my hunting and trapping videos all the time. And he just started babbling away to me, and he also shared with me that he found a trackway of 18-inch footprints in a field, took photos of them, and he found a massive turd, and scraped that shit up and saved it in a bag too. And he found that, and he went on to share a few other Sasquatch sightings that he had heard of in Alabama. And there has been a lot of sightings, and usually there seems to be more sightings from the north end of the state, a couple in the south, but there wasn't any around Greene County that I was aware of where we were. Obviously, you know where that is, right? We're already west of Tuscaloosa by, how far are we? An hour? I think 40 minutes, whatever. But I never heard of anything around there, although I'll tell you what, there's definitely a lot of area around there which looks like you could easily show up from where, I don't know. But if one did show up, that would be a pretty typical place for them to be, to elude being seen from humans, right? And then another thing, quick note on the dogs. Me and Joel, he had some guys that want to take us hog hunting with hounds. We weren't too far from Greene County. I think we were still in Greene County when we were doing it. Met up with these guys, and they had these kick-ass dogs, and they had shields on them, vests, and they had radio collars on. And same thing, so we let the dogs rip on their own. They weren't on leashes or anything, and off they go, right? And we're running down the roads and shit, and we're listening to them barking and whooping. But I strapped a couple of GoPros on two of the dogs, and I strapped it on their chest. It's so bizarre. And I'll tell you what, if you're in an area, it's almost, if I had hounds, I'd be putting GoPros on them every single frickin' time they took off in the woods. I'd have a GoPro on them. Because some of the things they see, they don't come back and tell you what they saw. A dog can't tell you what they saw, right? And it's fun. It's one dog, you see him run along, then he stops, and sometimes you see his tongue coming down on the top of the video. And looks over and here's another dog, and he is absolutely shredding an armadillo. Shredding it. And the other dog went over and started shredding on it too, and then they both took off and carried on. Right, we didn't get any hogs that day. We did actually have a big monster bust out later on across the field, but he never bayed up. He just kept on going. But anyway, it really amazed me at that display of what those dogs did while they weren't in our view, and they came back like nothing happened, and you would never even have guessed in a million years that they caught an armadillo and shredded it in a million pieces, right? And they also, those dogs aren't going to tell you. They're just not going to tell you what they saw. And imagine if they had GoPros on them when that went down, right? What scratched their noses up? That's kind of weird. And we both know it wasn't a cat. No frickin' way. There isn't a hunting hound alive that's going to run into a cat. I don't care if it's a black panther or a cougar or a lion, African lion. They're not going to tuck tail and run back to the truck. They're going to get it on, right? I think I'd probably fight to the death, like most hounds do when they chase down wild cats. But anyway, there we go. Another day, a few more voices heard, some things learned, some things exposed for what they are, possibly, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I gotta get going. I've babbled my frickin' face off, and I got shit to do. I went and found a used sliding glass door yesterday, and I'm gonna cut that wall out right there to the back 40 and put that thing right there. And I'll be able to watch what goes on in the back 40 while we're on here, and maybe even the horses might be able to come up and visit in there, but that's gonna be next on the plan. I'm gonna pick up that thing with the trailer today, couldn't get the truck. Frame that in, cut it out, get some natural light in here, and see what goes on behind the barn. We'll be back later.